We're back with another episode of the College Tour, this time at Wake Forest with Coach Tom Walter. Thank you so much for having us.
Josh, thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure. You are very welcoming. I appreciate that. It shouldn't be biased, but this is probably my favorite place to be at. Outside of FSU, of course.
Yeah, mine too. It's my favorite place to be right here.
Nice.
Except on the field. On the field is the best place to be.
We're not far from it.
Yeah.
All right. So you've been a head coach since 1997, and you are one of just 7 coaches to lead 3 different organizations to the Division I tournament. I know that it takes a lot of special people and a lot, surrounding you in a special place. But what on the baseball field and as a coach are you doing that you've been able to create that kind of success?
I think the number one thing you do as a coach is try to get your players to play with confidence. I mean, I think getting them to believe in themselves and believe in each other and having a mission statement for your team and again, getting those guys all on the same page is the whole key. Because obviously, the talent level from one team to the next is usually pretty similar, and that X factor is just playing for one another and that confidence factor.
So what is the main message that you're trying to get everybody to believe in? Has it changed from place to place, or are you pretty consistent with the message you want your teams to buy into?
I think it's pretty consistent. I think the first thing is put the work in. You know what I mean? The work ethic. I've been very fortunate at George Washington and University of New Orleans and now here to have kids who are super dedicated to their craft, that are putting time in. I mean, we've got players here, Bobby Seymour, Chris Lanzilli, those guys, their work ethic is off the charts. So, it's not secret sauce. It's, if you have a coordinated plan and you put the work in and you put talented people into that system, it usually produces good results.
And you mentioned George Washington, one of the many accolades you have, but congratulations on the induction to their Hall of Fame this year.
Oh, thank you. That was a really special night, and I was glad I got to share it with my son and my parents. So it was a good night for sure.
You're entering your 11th season as the Deacons head coach, and you signed a contract that takes you through 2024. What is it about this place that makes it so special, a place that you've planted your roots in?
Well, first off, I just love the people here. You've got Nathan Hatch, our president. Ron Wellman was our former AD, and now John Curry, our current AD. When you've got leadership like that at the top, whose values are aligned with mine, and you've got a university whose values are aligned with mine. I mean, we're pro humanitate is our university motto, and that's something I believe in, just being for others and being a man of service. And that's something we talk to our players all the time, is that above and beyond anything else, be a gentleman and be a man for others. And the fact that Wake Forest shares that vision for all their students is something that's near and dear to my heart.
And this wasn't part of the plan to ask you today, but you bring up kind of the way you live your life. And for anybody who doesn't know the story, you donated a kidney to one of your players to help save a life. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Kevin Jordan it was our first year here. It was our first recruiting class here. We had played one season, and Kevin Jordan was in our first recruiting class. And in January of his senior year, he became ill, diagnosed with a disease called ANCA vasculitis that attacked his kidneys, and by the time he got to campus, his kidney function was down to about 8%, and he was going to need a new kidney, and certainly couldn't survive without it. But sitting in that first doctor's office meeting with his parents and Kevin, and just listening to everything that he had been through and everything that he was about to go through, and it was just one of those things where it's like, I needed to do something to help. And,
so you just got your blood tested to see if you matched up?
Yeah, so I heard through that conversation that he was an O positive blood type, which is the same as mine. So, it didn't.
You knew that already?
Yeah, I know my blood type.
I
Sure,
don't know.
I give blood.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah. So when I heard that I was the same blood type, and that was the first kind of litmus test, was you got to be of the same blood type. I volunteered to get tested. The dad said that he didn't think they needed. He thought somebody in the family would be able to do it, and as fate would have it, nobody in the family could do it, for whatever reason, and I was a match.
That's an amazing story.
It was and again, people give me a lot of credit in that story, but the credit is Kevin Jordan. I mean, he talk about, courage. I mean, he showed up on our campus, fighting for his life with 8% kidney function and still showed up at school.
Wow.
I don't know many kids that would have done that. And his first year here, he couldn't do anything his first semester here. He was in a room by himself and hooked up to a dialysis machine 16 hours a day, and fighting for his life. And so he, Kevin's the story.
the care and love for others that you showed for Kevin Jordan is something that you pass on to your players. They're doing a lot of work in the community. Can you tell me more about what is it that you have your players involved in and why that's important to you in the program?
Yeah, we're super proud of our guys. I mean, they go out. We're going to Brenner's Children's Hospital tomorrow. We took a group there last week. They interact with the patients over there and pass out hats and T-shirts and sign balls and baseball cards.
I saw some of that.
It's a pretty cool event. And but we do other things. We go into elementary schools and we read. We have a Brian Piccolo run that we do every year. We do a Toys for Tots program, Santa's Helper type program. So we do we've done a walk a mile in our shoes several times. There's 3 or 4 things we do every year. A juvenile diabetes walk. We work with ALS to do some things. So we've got, again, a bunch of things on our radar. And why I think it's important is, all of our guys want to be Major League Baseball players, and that's great. But, more than anything, we want them to go on and be great, husbands and fathers and employers and employees. And again, hopefully it's Major League Baseball, but if it's not, we want them to be successful at whatever their chosen path is. And I think getting out into the community and understanding that there's a world out there that's bigger than Wake Forest University and Wake Forest baseball is an important part of that development.
And do you think their work in the community develops a special bond and culture for the team itself that translates out here?
I think it does. I mean, if nothing else, it's just a mindset of kind of gratitude and appreciation. If nothing else, of the things that we have. We took our team to the Dominican Republic a few years ago. It's something that we're up to do again. We can do it every 4 years, and I'd love to go back and again just show our guys, what life is like down there. When we painted houses in a sugarcane village and went to an orphanage and ran a clinic there. And it was just such an amazing experience for our guys to open their eyes to, how, a large part of the world lives.
The baseball facilities at Wake Forest go above and beyond what many places have, and you continue to put an emphasis on the development of them. Why is it so important to you to have a state-of-the-art facility that your players can call home?
Well, player development is the big buzzword in college baseball right now. People are throwing that word around, those 2 words around, frequently. But what goes into player development? And you've got to have facilities and resources and technology, and you've got to be ahead of the curve on that stuff. So with the addition of our pitching lab and our weight room here and our batting cages and our force plates and all the things that we have to offer our guys, we're just trying to give our guys the best chance to be successful in their chosen craft, pursue their passion with excellence. Again, the facilities are a big part of that, but the bigger part of that is the people. We've got Dr. Kristen Nicholson, our biomechanist, on staff. We've got Mark Seaver, who's the right strength coach for this program to get the guys moving the right way. We've got John Hendricks, our pitching coach, Jeff Strom, our trainer, Evan Wise, our player development coordinator, Dr. Waterman, Bill Salento, and Joey Hammond on the hitting end. The list goes on of people that we have. Rachel Conway, our sports psychologist, and Kate Ruley, our team nutritionist. So we've got a team of people that are available to our guys, basically 24/7 to help them get better. We're wearing the whoop strap to make sure they're recovering the right way and sleeping properly. Nutrition, hydration, all that stuff is kind of tied into that development. It's not just singular in focus, it's kind of holistic.
Right. And do you think some of the technology that you guys have is good for recruiting, drawing players in? I mean, it's fun to be here. It's like I'm in a virtual reality world here.
Yeah, without question. It is fun. And again, a lot of people hear about our pitching lab, but they don't really know what it is. Until you get here and you're kind of markered up and you see what's going on, and then you get that data report and the information it gives as far as force into the ground and again, how your body's moving. I mean, we've got a better chance than anybody to help develop a pitcher and keep that person healthy, because that's a big part of that development too.
Right. I was going to go into some of the pitching lab with you, but it's really well documented out there if people will look it up. And it's way beyond anything that I can understand for sure. But I know you believe heavily in that, even in a short amount of time, because you only have players 3 or 4 years, that technology could take them a long way in development.
Yeah, the first thing we've learned is that they're not moving properly, then you're really at ground zero until you can get them moving properly. Again, I think in years past, before we had this information, we're trying to make mechanical changes and ask kids to do things they're not capable of doing. Maybe they don't have the core strength or the mobility to do those things. So we've got to make corrections in the weight room and the training room first, before we can get them to make the delivery or the swing changes that they need to make. So that's the thing that's really been cool to watch that develop. Our guys are moving better than ever. They're more athletic. As a result, they're staying healthier. As a result, they kind of can adapt better situation to situation.
Wake's big on metrics, right? So outside of the norm of the fastball velos or the exit velos, what are some of the big metrics that are important to you and that you look for in recruits?
Well, so it's hard to get what we need from recruits because we don't have the information we really want. What we really want is force into the ground for our pitchers and for our hitters. That's such a big metric that we can only really get here.
What is force into the ground? Explain to us.
Force in the ground for a pitcher, what force into the ground is that lead leg stability, right? And lead leg stability leads to hip shoulder separation. which leads to velocity and command.
And for hitter?
And for hitter, same thing. It's the same thing. You get, it's that bracing on the front side you're bracing against, so you have something to hit against, at impact. And again, leads to increased hip shoulder separation, which leads to increased exit velocity, which leads to increased power.
I don't know if people understand what you're looking for out there on the recruiting trail. You're not looking for 3 for 3 or a perfect game from a pitcher. Like, you don't care necessarily if it's a good game or a bad game. I mean, one game's not going to make a difference to you. You're looking more at kind of the structure and the mechanics, right?
How they move. I mean, first and foremost, when Coach Hendricks goes out to watch a pitcher, he's looking at how he moves, and we think that predicts. And then breaking ball velocity a little bit. I'm more like, for younger kids, if they can spin their breaking ball with some velocity, to me that is a good tell that they're going to throw hard someday. They might only be 86 right now, but if they're throwing a 76 or 78 mile an hour breaking ball and an 86 mile an hour fastball, that's usually a good indicator of future fastball. I think sometimes people get it backwards. They teach to the metrics as opposed to capturing the metrics, and then what do you see with your eyes? And if those two things aren't matching up, then why is that? Like, the right question is, if the metrics don't match up with what you see at your eyes, why is that?
What do you trust more, your eyes or the metrics?
Well, again, you want those two to line up. You want, if you're seeing,
Well, for you personally.
Yeah, I mean, I trust both. I mean, again, I think it's a.
But you got to pick one or the other.
If I have to pick one or the other, I mean, I'm going to pick my eyes all the time.
Okay.
Again, because metrics, there are things that metrics can't measure.
Right.
You know what I mean? Swing and miss. You know what I mean? He might have unbelievable bat speed and create unbelievable exit velocity, but if he swings and misses, or if he has no feel for his breaking ball, it might spin 2,800, but
You got to feel good
if you
about
can't
what
throw
you're
for a
doing.
strike, then,
Right.
So again, I can't pick one or the other. I think it's both.
Right.
I won't pick one or the other.
An argument could be made that metrics are overrated, right? And that you might be missing the guy that's the gamer, not necessarily the guy that puts up the best numbers at the showcase events, but when he gets on the field, he's a winner. Is that a fair argument, and how do you overcome that?
I think it is a fair argument. I think the metrics and the analytics. So what data analytics is, it's using the past to predict the future, right? And I think data analytics tells half the story. The other half of the story is what we call creative adaptability. How do they think on the feet? What kind of feel do they have? What's their situational awareness? You know what I mean? You have certain guys that rise to the occasion and certain guys that go the other direction. So again, that's the other half of the story. And again, what we're looking for is both ends of that puzzle, because that's when we got something special.
I think when I hear, well, he's a gamer, that's bad news in the recruiting world. Because I feel like you guys don't necessarily get to see as much of that side as the analytics and the numbers side of it, because they can get that to you during spring. You can't necessarily see as many games. True, not true?
Well, if somebody tells you he's a gamer, what they're probably saying is his tools aren't great. I mean, again, when a coach hears he's a gamer, the first thing he thinks is, well, he must not have great tools. And that's not necessarily true. Maybe he just is a gamer with great tools. But typically, when a guy's got great tools, that leads the conversation.
Right. I've heard you talk very candidly about recruiting to families at your camps, and you've seen it evolve for a long time. So how would you describe the state of college baseball recruiting today, and do you think it's trending in a positive or a negative direction?
I think it's trending in a negative direction. I think kids are making decisions too soon. I think kids are often committing to colleges they haven't visited, and they're making decisions when they're 15 or 16 years old or 14 years old,
Right.
Which I think is insane. And I think we need to do something to change that. To me, what you should do when a kid makes a commitment is he should sign a scholarship immediately. And if you look at any 4-year period in a program, any snapshot of a program, and we need to plan for the draft somewhat, right? So let's say that, whatever the number is, let's say it's 14 scholarships, that you can't have more than 14 scholarships in any 4-year window, from sophomores through grad school kids, from freshmen through seniors, from, 9th graders through 12th graders, whatever that 4-year window is, you can't have more than 14 scholarships. I think what that would do is it would slow teams down. You know what I mean? It would force us to slow down, and that can only be a good thing for us and for them. For the kid, it's a good thing because you're going to a school that lines up with your values and what you want out of a baseball and your expectation, and you've done your homework, right? And for us, it takes away that situation where you've got a kid in your program that's on a big scholarship that you have to make a hard decision on.
Do you feel like coaches who necessarily don't want to recruit early, or their hand is forced, and this is just kind of a domino effect.
Your hand is 100% forced. You know, we talk about it all the time. There's kids out there, and we know he's got 3 offers on the board, and we either have to make an offer or we lose the kid. So it definitely forces our hands to either walk away from someone we might not want to walk away from, or offer somebody that we might not have enough information on yet.
Right.
So without question, it forces your hand. And again, kids feel, because of social media and travel ball coaches, kids feel this, and because of their friends, their peer group, they feel immense pressure to commit. You know, I mean, that's all you hear kids talk about is commit, 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 and they want to be on social media announcing their commitment. When the reality is you know, they should put their, you know, their faith in the process and take their time and make a great decision.
So the big question, I guess the bottom line question is, what can families do to navigate this process? What would you suggest they do to give their kid the best chance of getting recruited and possibly getting a college scholarship or a college education while playing baseball?
Gather as much information as you can. Go to as many colleges as makes sense. You know what I mean? Get an honest assessment of your ability level, and then invest time in schools that match up with your academic, athletic, and geographical, you know, financial, you know, all those things. Line all those things up and take your time with the process. But having people like you and like Jake who understand ability level and are steering kids the right way, that's invaluable. Like, these kids need somebody, you know, because there's too many travel teams out there just trying to post, you know, ACC and SEC commitments on their board. And they're not doing right by the kid and doing that.
Right. Just to build off that slightly, what about the kid that doesn't maybe have the resources to travel around and go to camps?
Yeah, videos. I mean, we watch every video we get. You know, so again, I encourage kids to send videos often and send them every 2 months and to show their progress. You know, sending metrics if they can get them is good too. You know, things like that, just ways to separate themselves is important. And again, having guys like you and Jake campaigning for them, I mean, that means a lot to us because we trust you.
Last question. Why do you still not have an iPhone?
Because of my BlackBerry box. What do you mean?
You're the man.
Is that a trick question? I don't understand the
BlackBerry, you
question.
work for the government?
Why does everybody not have a BlackBerry?
I can't send you videos direct.